Before we get into this video, I just wanted to thank everyone for getting up to 1,000 views on the last video. Most of my videos have a tendency to get like 20 plus views, and I actually put some more effort into the previous one, so I'm kind of happy that it got up to that amount. And also we're very close on 100 subscribers, and I just want to thank everyone for if we reach that when this releases or before this releases. I don't know what they'll be at once this drops, but I'm fine if it's still under 100, but I'm also really happy if it's over. Just wanted to quickly get that in there at the start. But we'll get into the video now. Have you ever played Spider-Man? If you have, you might have noticed the Avengers Tower or Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, which I'm pretty sure I'm still saying wrong half the time, as well as other heroic abodes or locations that you might recognize from comics and TV shows. One issue though, no one's home. Like anywhere. From start to end, in Spider-Man and Miles Morales, we don't see a single superhero except for Spider-Man. And Spider-Man. And your fellow Spider-Man. Closest we get to another superhero is just Uncle Aaron and Black Cat. The only reason that they ever do any heroic deeds is because they're friends with Spider-Man. But long term, they steal and they... I don't know what half the other crimes they do is, but mainly they just steal stuff, and that's not great. Now, of course, if you were to take a photo of Avengers Tower, Peter comments on it.
Avengers Tower is so cool, but they're never around to use it. I think they're probably somewhere on the West Coast right now. Probably surfing or something.
I don't know if they're on vacation or if they're just doing something in the West Coast and they have a base there for the time being. You would think that even one of the Avengers might come back from the West Coast when they hear that the city's just covered in criminals and multiple supervillains and an outbreak. No, none of them. They all just go, oh, Spider-Man's there. He can deal with it. But after doing a bit of research, I found that there's a list of other people in New York who might be superheroes, might be just regular ass people, and they just don't help Peter for whatever reason. Some of them are justified, some of them, why are they not doing anything? Now, we'll start off with the first one, which is a name that we see in the game before we even see Peter Parker. We start off with a spider crawling from the window frame, and we pan over, and it's meant to show off Peter's room and everything that's inside of it, and then it will get to Peter or whatever. But when it does that, it goes past a book which has the author of TS, and I'm pretty sure it's about mechanical engineering, which, you know, it's kind of Tony Stark's MO, so I would imagine that this book was written by Tony Stark. As we pan on, continuing through the room, we find sticky notes on the wall. Since I'm in Peter's lab, I might be able to find where he's put these sticky notes. Oh, there's one. This is the one I'm talking about. Call Tony Stark back re-job offer. Of course, I'm just assuming that this is Tony Stark, because, you know, TS could stand for anything else. It could be Toby Stevenson or something. But in this case scenario, it's most likely Tony Stark. Tony Stank? Yes, Tony Stank. It's most likely Tony Stark. Well, yes, he could probably help. The thing is that the job offer is most likely a job offer to work for the Avengers. If he works with the Avengers, then I would assume that he's probably not in town. He's still in the West Coast with the other Avengers. So yeah, Tony Stark's in the game and in the series, but he's not like actually there to help. But we can also go on to our next superhero with the sticky notes that are strewn across the place here. For instance, I just found this one. RR suit fabric, ballistic, call to confirm. Now, when I first read this, I thought for some reason Peter was making a holiday suit, and for some reason it needed to be bulletproof. No, the R and R do not stand for rest and relaxation. I googled Marvel characters that have R and R in their name, and for some reason it didn't click that this could mean Reed Richards. And so that either implies that the Fantastic Four exist in the Insomniac game universe, or Reed Richards, just as a regular human being, as a scientist, exists and works alongside Spider-Man sometimes. So then it's understandable if Devil's Breath started to happen and, you know, he's not going to go out and fight crime. He's just going to be like, hey, Pete, I got some details for a ballistic suit that you might want to wear. Or I'm getting this all confused, and it's probably some random brand that the creators came up with, but I'm assuming that it's Reed Richards. We also have one that is potentially retconned, because in the original Spider-Man game, when you go to a photo op location called Elias Investigations, you can find a sign that says Elias Investigations in the building. And you can take a photo of it. Peter doesn't seem to comment on it, at least he didn't when I took the photo in my recording. But then in the PS5 version, when you go to the same location for the photo op, the sign out the front that says Elias Investigations actually shows homeless in need of help. Which could mean that they either retcon the location but can't code out the photo op location, or it's just a simple change of graphics and I'm thinking way too much into it. Elias Investigations is a company owned and run by Jessica Jones, and again, this is another situation similar to Reed Richards, where Reed Richards could be a superhero or he could just be a regular dude. So same with Jessica Jones, she could just be a regular investigator, or she could be a superhuman investigator. Now, again, we don't see her throughout the game. The closest we get is just the building. So we can just assume that she's most likely just a regular human, and with Devil's Breath and all the criminals out on the street, she'll probably be like, hey, I'm not capable of defending against this. I'm just going to stay in my building until it all cools over. And I understand that, right? Same with Reed. But now we get to Matt Murdock, who is potentially Daredevil. Now, there is heavy proof that he exists in this game. Like, maybe just as Matt Murdock, but, you know, a lot of proof that he exists in general. We have his father's gym, which, funnily enough, when I got there, had a bunch of police at the front of it for some reason.
Bunch of boys turn a run when we figure it out for us.
Just head up 2 blocks and head up there.
We didn't see you.
Nonetheless, his father's gym's in the game. You have Josie's bar.
Nailed it.
Where he and his co-worker visit regularly. And then we have a secret photo op, which actually shows the location of Nelson and Murdoch's attorneys at law. Which is actually the workplace for Matt Murdock. So we know that Matt Murdock exists within the Insomniac game universe. But again, it's a situation of, is he even a superhero or not? And even if he was a superhero, Devil's Breath could still affect him, because he's got the blindness and heightened senses and everything, but I'm pretty sure that he can still catch a cold. What about Danny Rand, aka Iron Fist? Now, this is one where we might know that he is just outright a superhero, or at the very least, a hero. Apparently, his company, the Rand Corporation, has a little side program which teaches people self-defense. Interestingly enough, there is a line, which I couldn't bother trying to find, where the fake Spider-Man from the Spider-Man mission says that he was trained using the Rand Corporation's side business. Someone in the Rand Corporation knows a lot about fighting and stuff. You would have to assume is Danny Rand, meaning that he's done his training, meaning that he might be Iron Fist, or he might just be a dude who's really good at fighting, which I would assume he would then go do some crime fighting with. So same thing with Matt Murdock. He might be superhuman, but he doesn't have the right superpowers to protect him from a cold. We also have some evidence of other superheroes that exist within the same universe, or at the very least, the characters who are the superheroes. Maybe they're just regular humans again, but they're most likely superheroes. But we don't actually care about these ones too much because they aren't based within New York City. They just have evidence that they exist that is in New York City, but they themselves are not. For instance, you have the Wakandan embassy, which implies that, you know, Wakanda exists and Black Panther might exist. It's understandable if he's not actually in New York, because he's probably in Wakanda dealing with other things there, or he's out with the Avengers in the West Coast. There's also a Lockjaw statue, which proves that the Inhumans are real, but I don't know enough about the Inhumans, and I'm pretty sure they're not based out of New York City. Maybe. I don't read that much on Inhumans. There's also the bar with no name, but that's where all the villains go, but implying that there's enough villains for there to be a bar that they go to could also mean that it either means Spider-Man has made a lot of enemies, or everyone else's enemies go there. It could be some enemies from other superheroes, but again, we don't actually know that much. All we know is the location of the bar, and that is it. I'd like to imagine that some of the heroes were still in Avengers Tower, maybe like just other leaders or lower rate ones that were told to stay back to help protect the city, and they just decided not to. Because Peter's out here getting absolutely slammed. Wow. He is really taking a beating. Can we go help him? No, this is a good learning opportunity for him. He can handle this himself. Learning opportunity? Learning to what? Feel what broken bones feel like? Nah, we're meant to go help him. When a hero falls, they come back. Twice as strong. What do you mean? Great. What is that? Oh, yeah. Now the escaped convicts they're in the city. Great. Oh, you know what? Pete can deal with that. Pete has it. Whatever. There is a fan theory that the Avengers did worry about what was going on in New York, and they tested Peter to see if he would be able to handle it. But that's a video for another day. So if you want to see it, you'll have to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to make sure you stay notified when it drops. So, as a final thing to round it up, we have the Avengers, which could consist of Iron Man and Black Panther, but we don't know any of the other Avengers that might be in it. We got the location of the Avengers, which is not in Avengers Tower, they're in the West Coast. We also have Matt Murdock, who might just be regular human or incapable of fighting. Reed Richards, who might be a superhero or might be incapable of fighting. Jessica Jones, again, similar situation. Danny Rand, who, again, just could be incapable of fighting. But of course, the lack of direct help of these heroes and such could also just be chalked up to the fact that this is a Spider-Man game, not a Spider-Man and Avengers and other characters game. That's probably the more reasonable answer. Wow. That's insane. Look at my hair.